To become a better leader, whether that's in business, in sports, or in life, and you haven't found a book yet to help you get to that game-changing aha moment, well, we have the book for you. Tighten the Lug Nuts, The Principles of Balanced Leadership. Tighten the Lug Nuts will help you get to that game-changing leadership moment. Available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and iBooks, or at 360managementservices.com. That's the number 360managementservices.com. Pick up your copy today and start changing your leadership styles.
Now it's time for the show.
Do this look like work to you? Nah. Looking at the lights like it's all of this for me. Everyone tonight is here. All of this for me. Hands in the air, yeah. All of this for me. Bottles over here. All of this for me. All of this for me. All of this for me. Light fast, light flash. All of this for me. All of this for me. All of this for me. Bottles bringing bottles down. All of this for me. You for real?
Hello, and welcome in to another edition of the Rome Show, May 4th, 2020. I am your host, Andrew Romanella. That is my co-host and brother, Rocky Romanella. We will be taking you all the way up until the 8 o'clock hour. You know the rules on the Rome Show from 7 to 8 o'clock, okay? You can call in at any time. 609-807-2492. You can get the show on facebook.com/andrew.romanella. Chime in on the comments section. And at any point in time, the Twitter or the gram at Coach Romo24. Or, as we talked to you people about last week, Wide World of Rome on Twitter and the gram as well. Got to start getting some more followers on those.
I just liked our live feed and shared it on my timeline. So
And I'm about to do the same. We had a quick technical difficulty at first. Andrew forgot to put the mic out when he set up the studio today for the Rome Show. A lot of preparation, just not for the microphone, but we got it just in time. And do we have a good show lined up for you guys today? John Macri from Nick's podcast is going to call into the show around 7:15. He's going to give us his opinion on The Last Dance. We're going to chime in on our Last Dance opinions from episodes 5 and 6. Plus, we're going to get a little bit into what's going on in the NFL offseason. Some moves have happened that are going to be kind of predicting the future, especially in 2021. Some pro sports are coming back. I'm pumped.
I'm so pumped.
There's a lot to digest there, especially one of Rocky's favorite sports in the NASCAR.
That's right.
That'll be coming back. And, of
Right and
course,
dirty.
Rock's Reviews, which last week was supposed to be Entourage, but we had such a good Last Dance conversation
We did.
that we went with The Last Dance.
And we had a record number of callers, so we just didn't have time.
We just went through and we did what the show needed, and that's what the show needed. And lastly, before we dive into it all, ladies and gentlemen, happy birthday to the one and only Rocky Romanella.
Big birthday out there.
Big Rock, 360managementservices.com, Tighten the Lug Nuts, the book. It's all over the show. We are here because he is such a support of the show. But we could not start the May 4th edition of the Rome Show. And it's very fitting that we have a Rome Show today on his birthday.
Absolutely. It's crazy. It's Joe Scafone's birthday today, too.
It's Joe Scafone's birthday today, too.
I know.
So
They share the same birthday.
happy birthday to a one Joe Scafone, and a happy birthday to a one Rocky Romanella. May the 4th be with you.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, there it is.
Nice.
All right. So, straight off the Rome today is a little bit on the sad side because it's about the passing of Don Shula, the legendary NFL coach, the all-time wins leader
All-time wins leader.
in the National Football League's history. He passed today at the age of 90.
Did you know that, sports fans, that Don Shula leads everyone in wins?
He has 347 all-time wins, 328 in the regular season, 19 in the postseason. He won 2 Super Bowls with the Miami Dolphins and is the conductor of the only perfect season, 17-0, the 1972 Dolphins in NFL history. And
18 and 1 giant loss.
and
Sorry.
when you think about the career, no, because I got caught on my words. Because what I really want to say is that it's not for me. It's not like I knew the man, but having researched so much in Dolphins history and loving Dan Marino,
Well, you're a Dolphins fan.
right? Loving the Miami Dolphins. There was so much about Don Shula that made what we could as Dolphins fans latch onto, because in my lifetime, there hasn't been a lot of winning. So when you think of the winning of the Miami Dolphins, when you think of Dan Marino, I mean, drafted by one Don Shula,
It's like,
it's the history.
it's like Edmonton Oilers fans clinging on to the 80s with Gretzky.
exactly
That's what it is, because you don't have any, there's nothing else
There's
there.
nothing else there.
No.
So for me, Don Shula just represents the love of the Miami Dolphins franchise and organization. So I wanted to celebrate his career, his life. And we were watching an ESPN Plus before the show. What is it, Peyton's Places?
Yeah, I love that show.
And Peyton Manning was with the Dolphins when they celebrated last year when the Rams lost their last game to be, no longer have any undefeated teams left in the NFL. And it was just pretty cool. It was really cool to hear those guys talking. So condolences, thoughts, and prayers to the Shula family. And for me as a Miami Dolphins fan, thank you for giving me history to cling on to and things to love for the Miami Dolphins.
For sure.
That is just straight off the Rome for today. So before John joins us in like less than 10 minutes and gives us some of his opinions, and the cool part about John joining the show is since he does the Knicks Film School podcast, he has a lot of insight on the Knickerbockers. And last night on The Last Dance, episodes 5 and 6, there was some talk about the 93 playoffs specifically and the Knicks. And some talk about how the Knicks at that time were potentially taking over the same kind of slot that the Pistons had taken in 89, 90, and 91 against the Bulls. So I want to dive into that a little bit with John. But I know you called me specifically today, like midday,
Yes.
because you were fired up about The Last Dance.
I thought it was great last night. I thought the last night might be my favorite 2 episodes.
Why?
I thought you really got a true look into how big and to how great Michael Jordan really was. And my favorite story from last night's episode was the Dream Team practice where Magic is
Oh, my
playing
God.
against Michael Jordan.
I heard someone
Right?
say today they wanted to see a documentary on that practice alone.
Dude, I know. I mean, think about it. Think about it. You have, people. I mean, and by the way, in 2 different instances, you had both, Magic and Charles Barkley, who are a part of that, even Larry Bird, who have now, over the course of 6 episodes, actually been in the documentary talking about how Michael and the Bulls beat them, in play. We watched them take on beat the Lakers in episodes 3 and 4 last week, right? So, like, you've gotten that. But there was no more notoriety hearing from these guys when they talked about how he took over that practice and ended up like earning the respect from all of the players that he was the best of all time, like the best.
And it's kind of nuts to think that, like, when you put the greatest players of all time together in a specific sport, today you could never imagine a practice that hard actually happening. I don't think.
No,
I think that's
even in today's dream teams.
and that's what surprised me when they talked about that. I'm like, man, these guys practice that hard, and it's for the Olympics. It's for the gold medal, with which the kind of way the documentary made it seem, and I could be wrong about this, but like Michael didn't even necessarily want to play in that Olympics games. It was the first time that National Basketball Association players were allowed to play in the Olympics.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And to go there and then for them to have that much passion, I agree 100%. For me too, the other thing I thought was crazy was throughout both episodes, really, they talked a lot about Jordan's stardom
Yes.
and his feelings on his stardom,
yes.
which I thought kind of gave you a lot of insight and kind of like how great or not great it is to be a guy that is that loved.
The second that Stan Smith Jordan rules, like that part came up, I was like, I hate Stan Smith.
Why? Because
I don't hate him, but like I just like he made it seem like, oh, I wanted to see what was really there. What do you mean what was really there? Like there's nothing really there other than a pure competitor absolutely dominating his craft. Right? Like you don't walk into the leading scientist's office and be like, oh, I wonder what's behind the cure to the greatest cure of a disease of all time. Oh yeah, you were a gambling addict. Like, but I mean,
it is kind of nice that even in a documentary about Michael Jordan, they're willing to show the negative sides of Michael Jordan.
No,
I think that was the idea there, right? Like they're trying to like show. Like I know.
I think their point came across was that look at how big this person got. It got so big. He was so good, so perfect that there had to be somewhere else that pulled him down because no one in the league could do it.
You're right.
There's no one in the game itself that could actually beat him. So that's, there are just driving forces when you're the best, and it doesn't have to come directly where you're competing. It's other people that think that they're competing with you, but they're really not. Right? He's got to win every game, not just the one on the court now.
And was it Charles Barkley that said when he played MJ in the 93 finals, that was the first time in his basketball life that he realized he wasn't the best player on the floor?
Yes. Yeah, that's what he said too.
It's kind of mind-blowing.
No, I think it's amazing. I mean that's why
you talk about other Hall of Famers.
No, I know. I think that's why I love this episode so much, because there was so much commentary, and it was so much commentary on Michael himself.
Yes.
And it was and I think that's why it was great. It was like and over the course of the 2 hours last night, it was like Clyde Drexler. It was Isaiah.
Whoa, yeah.
It was Charles.
Yeah.
It was Tony
Magic.
Kukoc. It was Magic.
Yeah.
It was, and how
Kobe.
And it was Kobe. It was the story about him going to Atlantic City, gambling. And there was like 7 or 8 different examples where there was serious public relations attacks on the fact that Michael Jordan could be not the best. And every time he responded with dropping like 50 points.
Well, of them all, my favorite one was the night before with Magic when he's like with Clyde Drexler.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to school this dude.
Yeah.
And then he hit the first 3. And here's what I thought, which was mind-blowing to me. That 92 finals happened before.
Yeah, Magic was a player that year.
Yeah, but he was commentating for NBC.
No, it's like when ESPN brings these dudes out for football now.
Yeah.
Like, except they're still in the league. Like, well, they're like still playing. It's not like they're out.
Yeah, yes, but they're like Peyton Manning with a lot of the stuff that he did. No, unreal. Other thing for me. I don't think I've ever seen another star. Now, I can't say I'm privy to the international stars that had that many people around outside of his hotel, of his car, of the bus, right? Like the one shot that blew my mind, and it wasn't the crowds of people or the pictures of the reporters with the stuff in their face, any of that stuff. The one that blew my mind was coming out of the game, and there was like a 6-decker.
Oh yeah, like parking garage. There's people was like hanging,
and I literally right. So it goes to commercial right after that spot, and I said to myself, dude, do people love this man so much that they were willing to stand in a parking deck to see him walk from inside the stadium to on the bus? Like, that's how bad people loved him, that all they wanted was a real life glimpse of him walking on the bus.
I know.
To me, that might put him in the category of the greatest professional athlete of all time.
It was pretty crazy.
And that's why I say also I'm not privy. And that's why 609-807-2492. If you're somebody that can give me insight on the international stars, because I would assume like a Pele or a Lionel Messi.
Nah, if you look right now, Messi and Ronaldo's Twitter and followers, like their followers crush anyone in the US. The only person that can compare to the international soccer stars is like right now, it's like LeBron. That's in a team sport. Everyone else is like Federer. Like it's all individual sports guys.
But is it now? Maybe social media changes it because you can follow them on the social media sites. So it's almost like I don't need to see them in person. Because like with Michael, seeing him in person in 92.
No, but actually, what you're describing is what was ultimately described last night by his agent when they talked about what they wanted to do with Michael.
Yeah, they want to make him a tennis player.
They wanted to make him an individual star, which they did, which they showed everyone else how to do, right? But that's why the comparison is tough. But like from a team sport perspective, you can't even touch the soccer guys.
And is it true? And and I think Jonathan's about to join. But like, is it true? And I'm going to ask him this probably too. But like, is it really that true that like Nike was that down at the time?
They weren't that down. I read Shoe Dog by Phil Knight.
All right.
They were Nike was they were young at the time.
But I don't. But they were like they were only a track company.
They were,
that
but
didn't have anything.
But they were very much only track. Their big guy was Prefontaine, pre-runner like that.
Really?
Yeah, man, he was their guy, and then they really wanted to break into tennis. And actually, I think they wanted to get into the NFL almost before the NBA, if I remember correctly.
They did have people in tennis prior to Jordan, though.
Yeah, they had some good tennis players. But the biggest thing was track. It was it was running.
Wow, that's crazy. All right. On the call, I believe we have Jonathan Macri of Knicks Film School podcast and various others. You have to follow him, J Macri NBA on Twitter. John, thanks for calling in and joining the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
Can you hear us?
We
Yes.
may.
We
hear me
cannot hear. We're going to try and
Hello?
figure this out.
But I think the other cool thing about I thought the other cool thing last night was really the Tony Kukoc story, and they had no idea why. Like Kukoc had no idea why they were so hard on him.
John, are you there? Rube. All right, we're going to try and figure out
Yeah.
the caller.
Oh, Ruben's working on it.
All right, well, Rube, I think if you can hear us, then maybe we'll be able to get John back in. But I do agree with Tony Kukoc. Is that how you say his name?
See, our fans are saying that they can hear John,
Huh.
so we can't.
Well, I think I made the adjustment.
All right. Good
I think the adjustment's been made. So we'll try and get John back on the line. But all of it, dude, all of it. There's just like, it's not a Michael Jordan documentary. It is, but it's also like an NBA histories documentary.
It's more of an
And a
NBA
culture documentary.
It's more of an NBA. It's more of an NBA documentary than you realize because you're watching. Because the person at the forefront is the person who created today's NBA, right? The global phenomenon that is the NBA, the individual marketing that each of the players takes up on their own. Shoe, like having your own shoe, having your own clothing line, having your own lifestyle brand, like that is all built by Michael Jordan
Yes.
in the NBA, and that's why you hear so many people complaining about today. Or I don't know.
I don't know. I knew that Mike directed his commercials.
No, yeah, I don't think so either.
I knew that.
Once they started, I remember that. You remember like
Well, yeah, and then I remember
like Spike Lee's like fake character, his name like Marvin or something like that. Yeah.
It's got to be the shoe.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Oh, that's fantastic. I think I heard the phone go off. Rube, when you have Jonathan, just put him through, and we can confirm.
Can you hear me, guys?
John,
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
we can hear you, my man. What's going on? Yeah, crap. How you?
Not much. You
Thanks for
guys
joining
are
us.
coming in a little unclear, but I could kind of hear you.
All right. Well, if you have any
okay.
issues, just let me know. Well, let's see if we can get through this thing. So the last time we had you on, actually, we talked because it was the unfortunate passing of Kobe Bryant. And you were able to give us a lot of insight on Kobe Bryant. And we had a really good conversation about his career and the things he'd done in the game of basketball and beyond. And now we're bringing you in to talk a little bit about The Last Dance and this Michael Jordan documentary, which we love, and just think that there's so much involved in it. So before we kind of ask you some specific questions, because I also want to get into the Knicks part of this as well, have you been watching and give us your opinion on The Last Dance and the documentary and what you love or don't love about it?
Yeah, no, I have been watching. I've actually been doing little post episode recaps on my own podcast through the first 3 weeks, because even though it's not really Knicks content, I think it's big enough and important enough that anybody who puts out anything about basketball should be watching and should be talking about it. I think it's spectacular. I mean, I am even though obviously followed the Knicks for my life. I was always a huge Michael Jordan fan. He's, like a lot of people, he's my favorite athlete, especially people around my age. I'm going to be 37 next weekend. So it was right in that sweet spot. I remember all of it very well as it was happening. And I've seen a lot of Michael Jordan stuff. I've read several books on Michael Jordan, and I have to say this is, I think, the best thing, because really what we're watching is it's three documentaries kind of in one. There's, the present interviews, which are fantastic because you get Michael Jordan being more introspective than he ever has been. You get the stuff from the 97-98 season, and then you get all the stuff from, earlier on in his career and his life, and, the careers and lives of the other key players. So I think it's been really well done so far.
Nice. Hey, John, what's going on? It's Rocky here. Hey, I was wondering, and you just mentioned it, the kind of the third facet of the show is the flashback and kind of the timeline. There have been a couple people that don't necessarily like it. Like, when you do your recap, like, how much does that play into it? Like, what, do you think that history is really that important to the 98 team specifically, or is that more for Jordan perspective than Bulls perspective overall?
I do think it's important. Not to nerd out for a second, but I'm thinking about Avengers Endgame, and you got Tony Stark saying part of the journey is the end. Like, it wouldn't, the end of that journey for that team and for Jordan as a Bull and Pippen as a Bull and obviously Phil Jackson as a Bull, like that doesn't have the meaning that it has without everything that led up to it. And it's just kind of the confluence of events that it took to bring that team together and to give that season the meaning that it had. From Rodman obviously going from one of their primary foes to being, part of the unit, to everything that Pippen had been through. And, even if you just look at the Jerry Krause stuff, that how could you possibly tell the story of the 97-98 team and why it was poised to, be the last dance without going through all of the history of Krause and just kind of everything he did over the years to kind of tweak and needle and prod at so many of the important parties. I don't think you could do it. I think it's necessary. And plus, look, they got great luck, right? They're airing this thing in the middle of a pandemic with no sports. So, it's 10 hours. A lot of that is old footage. But, hey, it's not like we got any live sports to watch in the interim.
So give it to me this way, John, okay? I want your actual true Knicks fandom here. Maybe the documentary brings up memories, but you lived it. So what was it like rooting for a team that had legitimate opportunity to beat Jordan and the Bulls during this time, but could never fully get over that hump?
It's a tough question for me to answer because I really started following them closely in 1993, and I think the only team that I think the Knicks fans, obviously there's the series that the Knicks took them to 7 games, which was before the conference finals, which was highlighted in last night's episode, with the Charles Smith game and everything. I don't think people really pay that much attention to that one because the Knicks weren't really ready yet. 92, 93, the Knicks were ready, and I think they felt good about their chances. The Knicks fans felt good about their chances. But like Jordan said last night, and I don't think he was wrong, the Bulls knew that when they were playing at their best, they were going to beat the Knicks. And I think that, the difference between the Knicks rivalry with the Bulls and the Knicks rivalries with the Pacers and the Heat, which really kind of dominated the second part of that decade, are that there was always an expectation that the Knicks would beat those other teams, the Heat, the Pacers, even when they were seated higher. And in fact, they did beat, those teams when they were seated higher. The Bulls, it's just, listen, I don't want to give Charles Oakley any credit because he's catching a lot of, crap today for some of the comments he made last night, or I guess that appeared last night through the Post. But the fact is, the Bulls had Michael Jordan and the Knicks had Patrick Ewing, and that's, sadly all it came down to.
Absolutely, and we're talking to John Macri of Knicks Film School podcast, and that is an interesting point because the Knicks are one of those teams, especially in the '90s, that it was the Bulls, but it wasn't. You mentioned it. It was the Pacers. It was the Heat. It was really just what was the team that year that might be stopping the Knicks from getting where they ultimately wanted to be, which was that championship. And I find it so fascinating, John, that so many great players, including Michael Jordan in this documentary, talk about how the Garden is the mecca of basketball and how it's their favorite place to play. I mean, is it crazy that for this long, I mean, we're talking about a documentary film technically in 1998, but throughout his entire career, he talks about it. So spanning back into the 80s and 70s, is it still to this day that standing, that the Garden is the mecca of basketball in New York City is the place to perform?
I mean, obviously, I'm a little biased answering that question. I'll be the first person to admit that, but no, I mean, look, I don't think the players are lying when they say it. I think they legitimately mean it's unlike any place else to play, and I think it has more to do with the fact, or more to do than the fact that it's simply in New York City, because I think players will even be open about the fact that, like, Barclays Center is in New York City. It's in a great location. It's a beautiful building. The whole thing. Playing there is, it's nothing like the Garden. It's something different there, and I do think that it's kind of a little bit of it is maybe a self-fulfilling prophecy, because the more older players talk about how much it means to them, and talk about who the best young players are in the game today, whoever you consider them to be. They've grown up hearing guys like Michael Jordan, like Kobe Bryant, like LeBron James talk about how the Garden is unlike anything else, and it's their favorite stage to perform on. So as long as these players keep saying it, whether it's some indelible quality or whether it's just talk, I mean it's going to continue to perpetuate. I think going forward, I don't think that'll ever change as long as the building is standing.
No, I know. I think it's so crazy too that, like, classic over the course of NBA history, it is Garden. Like, I need to play in the Garden. I perform in the Garden. Kobe's last game, 60 points. Michael's last game, 50 points. Like, he had his old shoes on. Like, everyone performs there. Everyone wants to do their best there. Yet today, there's not one NBA star who wants to play there. Like, is that really all Jim Dolan? Like, is that really all the ownership? Or is that really just a change in the way, some of the players today can actually handle that type of media presence?
I mean, look, that's a $64,000 question. I get asked this probably more than anything, and
I feel like it's like $6.4 million right now.
I'll say this, and this is kind of where I come down, and it's kind of splitting the baby, but it's how I honestly feel. I don't think James Dolan helps things, and I think anyone who doesn't feel that he is a hindrance, and a significant hindrance at that, is not being honest with themselves, because he runs things a certain way. The things that he does, the kind of the attitude he has, the way he people who have worked there are very open about the fact that it could be a scary, not so much fun place to work from time to time, because of how Dolan is. Now, there are a lot of successful organizations that they do well, and it's not an easy place to work necessarily. But I think that brings to the table the second part of it, which is that if things got going on the right path, I think absolutely it could still be a place where stars want to come and play, even with James Dolan as the owner. But it's like, it's a chicken or the egg question, right? Is that, are we going to start to go down that path as long as Dolan is there? And you keep going around and around. I will say this: I don't think it's the media scrutiny that is keeping players away. And I know there was a lot of Knicks fans who felt that, like, Durant didn't come last year because he didn't want to, the spotlight that playing for the Knicks entails. I just think he wanted a cushier situation, that he was more confident that, like, hey, these people are more comfortable that they know what they're doing. I think if the Knicks can show that they could put one foot in front of the other and build a competent organization that could go like, like the meme, like we have gone X number of days before we've had, or since we've had our last incident. If they could get that count up to like a few months, maybe things will change. But that's hopefully what Leon Rose will do.
I know it really makes you hate the lottery that much more because, I mean, just think about it, right? The Bulls suck, draft Michael, they get good, right? The Warriors suck, they draft Steph, they get good. Like, even the Lakers were they got Kobe, they got to get good again.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, Knicks draft Zion, maybe KD comes.
Well, it's not even just Zion. I mean, even Morant. If they had the math is escaping me at the moment, but they had a 30-some-odd% chance to pick one of the top two spots. If they get either of those guys, we're having a very different conversation right now. Not to say that RJ Barrett isn't good. He's just, not Zion and not Ja. So sometimes, it turns on a trifle, as they say.
All right, John, a few more things here before we let you go. And again, we're talking to John Macri of Knicks Film School Podcast. So getting a little bit back to The Last Dance, but I want to stay tied into the Garden, specifically media. It was kind of crazy to see what it was like for Michael Jordan leaving his hotel room, being around buses, just simply trying to be outside in the world. And when you saw some of the photos and some of the videos of him, whether it be at the Garden or in other places, with all the media members around him, I mean, it happens because it happened to Michael Jordan. Have you seen that happen with any other player to that extent? Is it something that when it's in New York and it's a superstar, it's always going to happen? Like, how realistic are scenarios like that outside of guys like Michael Jordan?
I mean, I think it still happens. Like, I personally have not covered a LeBron game. He's obviously garners that type of media attention. But yeah, I'll say this. I don't think that it will ever be to the extent that it was for Jordan and that particular Bulls team. And even, you saw last night they had some of the footage from the 92-93 season. And, if you listen to, and it's interesting because Jordan could have commented on it now and he didn't. It was more the comments that were made back during the time about how it was like going to drive him out of the sport. And, I'm curious to see how they handle that in next week's episode. In any case, I don't know. I think it's changed also because there are so many other different places for people to, focus their attention now in 2020, and that's only going to the number of those things are only going to increase. Once upon a time, like the NBA live sports, it was just there wasn't as many options out there, so that was. People say it's like Jordan and the Bulls, they were the Beatles. I don't think you're ever going to get that again. Save for like a random blue moon, like the best player in the league enters unrestricted free agency and like is non-committal about what he wants to do next, like what we saw with LeBron a few years ago. But even that wasn't close to what Jordan got during the 97-98 season.
All right, John, here's your last question, okay? Because I've decided that since watching this Last Dance documentary, okay, and being a kid that was born in 1990, so I don't believe I really saw Jordan's career. At least the parts of my life I can remember it, I definitely didn't see his career because anytime he was on the Wizards, you should just pretend like that didn't happen. So I decided that Jordan's number one. At least that's just my opinion. And having watched this documentary, I don't see how you could see it any other way. I've been rewatching the 91-92 finals, off the charts, right? So I think the new debate is it Kobe or LeBron, right? If you had to choose one of the two, and I know it's a hard debate because you choose either of them, I get it. But I feel like even in the midst of the little bit that they had Kobe in the documentary yesterday, and what we've learned about Kobe throughout his career, but obviously more so in the last few months since he's passed, there seems to be no one closer to mirroring Michael Jordan than Kobe Bryant. But yet we have the debate so much with whether it's LeBron and Michael. And I'm sitting here saying to myself, John, I think it could be Kobe right there. And I'm sure a lot of people feel that way, but I want to get your thoughts on that.
Man, I feel bad saying it because, and I don't mean to diminish Kobe's career and his accomplishments and everything he did, because I think I think you could argue that he's one of the 10 greatest players who ever lived, but I don't really.
And we have lost our guest.
I don't know. I hope that was him calling back because I really wanted to hear that answer.
Yeah, definitely. It sounded like he was about to say...
Sorry, I dropped you guys for a sec.
Oh, we're good. We're back. John, go ahead.
All right, sorry. So, yes, I was going to say, I feel bad saying it. I don't really think it's a conversation. I think it's LeBron. I think the LeBron-MJ conversation is a real one. I'm like you. I'll probably always have Michael Jordan number one for reasons that are probably too long to get into right now. But if you look at just LeBron's overall impact on the court and how little support he's had at times and what he's been able to do with what he has had, I mean, the man has 4 MVP awards. I know it's a media-voted award, and I know that it doesn't always mean everything, but, Kobe has 1, and 1 is great, 1's really good, but LeBron has 4. LeBron, what he's done with some of the teams he's been on, whereas you put Kobe on some teams that didn't have a Pau Gasol or a Shaquille O'Neal on them, and, those teams weren't 500. I think LeBron is like the only guy that's come along, maybe besides a healthy Kevin Durant, where if you put him on literally almost any roster that's remotely competently built, that's going to be a 50-win team, and it's going to be a threat to come out of, the Eastern Conference, which is where LeBron did have the fortune of playing for most of his career, but I digress. So really, for me, it's LeBron, and Kobe is more like in the conversation of, all right, so we have Jordan here and we have LeBron here. In between, we had Kobe, we had Shaq, we had Tim Duncan. Like, that's a more interesting conversation for me, where Kobe ranks with those other guys. And I know that's probably putting him down in the minds of some people to compare him to Shaq and Duncan, but to me, that's where he rests historically, in my eyes. And I understand I'm in the minority there.
But then, you know what, though? That's the beauty of sports opinion, because whether it's unpopular by the masses or not, you can still have that legitimate opinion. And you also, John, probably have facts to support it. I think what I was most interested in recently was the way Kobe went about his business, the way Michael kind of took him under his wing slightly. And last night, did the documentary prove that a little bit more? Maybe. But I just thought it was very interesting how, I guess maybe I get caught up in somebody trying to mirror their game to be almost identical to Michael Jordan's, whether they are the second or next greatest player of all time or not.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'll say this. He came the closest to looking and acting and being like Jordan in every way. And I think LeBron has just taken a different kind of path with his career. Not to say he doesn't work incredibly hard. He clearly does. He clearly puts in the time and the effort and takes care of his body and all of that. But, we always, obviously, this whole Last Dance is a study in the relentless pursuit of, competition that was Michael Jordan. That's what Kobe Bryant was, too. I don't think LeBron James is quite built that same way. If some people will hold that against him, the 2-week vacation in the middle of the year type stuff, and that's fine, but I still can't diminish where he is as a player, just based on the accomplishments and the eye test, quite frankly, because there's, when LeBron is on the court, LeBron is on the court, and there's never been anyone quite like him, at least since I've been watching basketball. So I think that definitely is worth something.
Well, John, I really appreciate you taking the time tonight to join us. It's been fantastic every time you've been on the show. I hope we can continue to get you back on here. But again, Jonathan Macri, Knicks Film School podcast. Follow him on the social medias and definitely listen to his work because it's really good. John, thanks so much, man.
Thanks,
I
John.
appreciate you guys having me on. Sorry for the phone troubles. I hope it wasn't too much of an inconvenience. And, enjoy. I always enjoy it, and have a great rest of the show.
Thanks, man. Really appreciate it.
Later.
It's becoming a staple, I believe, that every time we have John on, we should probably have some phone troubles because it's happened every single
Every time. Every time.
That was great.
Guys driving through a tunnel all the times.
I think we're going to respond to that interview and get to the rest of this show on the break, okay? Because like we tell you every show, we got to pay these bills. So it's probably about time to pay those bills. I'm Andrew Romanello. That's Rocky Romanello. This is The Rome Show. We are taking you all the way up until the 8 o'clock hour on HamiltonRadio.net, Channel 2.
8 o'clock hour.
Are you looking to become a better leader, whether that's in business, in sports, or in life, and you haven't found a book yet to help you get to that game-changing aha moment? Well, we have the book for you. Tighten the Lug Nuts, The Principles of Balanced Leadership. Tighten the Lug Nuts will help you get to that game-changing leadership moment. Available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and iBooks, or at 360managementservices.com. That's the number 360managementservices.com. Pick up your copy today and start changing your leadership styles.
All right, welcome back into The Rome Show here on May 4th, 2020. Happy birthday to that guy, Mr. Tighten the Lug Nuts, 360managementservices.com. It is his birthday today, so happy birthday to the big Rocky Romanella. I'm Andrew Romanella. That's the other Rocky Romanella. We're taking you up until the 8 o'clock hour. Chime in on Facebook.com/Andrew.Romanella or give us a call, 609-807-2492. Before we move on to the rest of the show, I knew you were licking your chops there maybe to get in on the Kobe LeBron discussion, so I wanted to give you the floor.
Well, listen, if you want to go on stats, that's fine. You're going to go on five world championships for Kobe and 3 for LeBron, right? LeBron has 3. Does he have 4?
He has 3. You're right.
No, he has 3. And his first 2 were in Miami with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. And by the way, Ray Allen, who's rating 3, right? So, and by the way, so good. Okay, so Kobe's first 2 and LeBron's first 2 are exactly the same. There's a wash. Kobe wins another one with his. Okay, you can eliminate that one. But you know what? He willed the next 2 on his own without Shaq.
True.
And he had Pau Gasol great, right? But we're not saying
world peace.
Yeah, but we're not saying and what we're not saying LeBron had who? Who did he have? Kyrie? No, he didn't have Kyrie. He had Kyrie.
Cleveland, he had
Kyrie, right? So he had Cleveland, okay, and Kevin Love, great, but Michael had Scotty.
Yeah.
Scotty was sick.
Yeah, no, I get it, but he made Scotty. Okay.
Anyway,
before we move on, though, I have to say this. I wrote this in on the Instagram poll, and this is the most responses we've ever gotten on write-in. So I'm going to fly through them real quick.
Let's go.
The question was, you only get one, Kobe or LeBron. Why? Okay, here are your responses. Kobe, why? LeBron, who? Okay, that kid, no.
Wow. I like it.
Kobe. Kobe, closest thing to MJ. LeBron, most skilled player of all time. That was our men's basketball coach, who I believe is listening to the show right now. Shout out, Mr. Slanovic. Kobe, because he was humble and just did his thing. Kobe, because LeBron is a big crybaby, and you know I'm right. That's a good one. Kobe, because the mentality of no one will ever outwork him. Kobe, because he was the closest thing to Michael we will ever see. Neither. Give me 7-time NBA champ, big shot Robert Horry.
That's a Knicks fan.
That's Chris. That's our brother-in-law.
I thought that might be
always good for a good writer. Yeah. Chris is. And LeBron, because he's the best facilitator out there, makes anyone on his team 10 times better. were about 10 of the responses we got there on the Rome Show, right?
Honestly, I'm at a point where I just need a LeBron documentary because, in retrospect, it is quite obvious, and even just reading some books and kind of understanding who Kobe was now as a player, 100% the most comparable to the way Michael was from just a pure competitive standpoint. The way he held his teammates accountable, the way he wanted nothing to do with anything but being the best at basketball, winning championships. Whereas, right, LeBron just presents himself in such a different way that, like, in order for me to, at this point, make a good argument, I need to see that because, right, like, I think Kobe's gaining a lot more points based on perspective rather than, you know, if you put Kobe and LeBron at their heyday at the same time, would that still be the argument? Probably not.
It's a great question. And I think it's a debate that we'll dive into deeper over the next few months because I think it's a lot of fun. And I'd love to get a few people on either side of the fence to come on here.
And we get 2 more weeks of episodes.
So perfect.
Oh, great.
So we're locked in. Okay, so as we said earlier on in the show, sports are coming back, okay? Professional sports specifically are coming back, okay? They might not be the sports everyone is dying to see, but they're coming back. To list a few for you, okay? Tonight or tomorrow morning, whatever way you look at it, either way it's at 1 o'clock in the morning, the Korea Baseball Association or organization kicks off its 2020 professional baseball season with an unreal amount of COVID-19 procedures in place. There will be no fans in the stadium. Umpires will be wearing masks. A lot of players will be wearing masks.
High fives are highly
not allowed, essentially.
Yeah, it's like
highly frowned upon.
That's
high
right.
fives are highly
guidelines. Don't high five.
So Korea Baseball, what did we say it was?
Korean Baseball
Organization,
the KBO,
is coming back.
Only the best international baseball league in the world.
ESPN's going to air it 6 games a week. I mean, listen, I'm going to tell you that it's fantastic baseball. It's one of the top 2 or 3 leagues in the world.
Is it airing on ESPN regular or
regular ESPN?
The Ocho.
Regular ESPN.
I've been catching a lot of Ocho lately.
A lot of Ocho lately, some ping pong and stuff like that. Pushing further into Ocho sports, though, okay? Because I think you could consider this an Ocho sport.
Because I was watching belly flopping the other day. So.
No. Oh, my God. Golf has announced 2 live, matches.
Outstanding.
That are going to happen over the next month. One of them between Rory McIlroy, Dustin Johnson, and Ricky Fowler.
That'd be a good one.
That one's coming up, I think, in a week or 2.
That's our generation.
I don't have as much information on that one because it's newer. The one that really popped off was what they're calling the match, Champions for Charity. Now, the match, the original, happened 2 years ago. Phil Mickelson and Tiger Woods squared off one-on-one. I think people liked it. I think people hated it. But I think people liked it enough they were going to bring it back. Well, the spin on it this year, and it's supposed to be around Memorial Day, would be it's Tiger Woods and a one Peyton Manning.
Oh, yes.
Squaring off against Phil and a one Tom Brady.
That's outstanding.
Are you interested?
I love that. Are you kidding me? Absolutely. I'm all in on it.
So apparently that is, and what's going to happen is all the money raised in that is going to go towards COVID-19 relief, as well as the Rory DJ Fowler one, which is going to happen in Florida. Again, I believe it's 2 weeks. We'll have more information for that one as well. But they're coming back. And the last 2 I have to report for you is NASCAR in 2 weeks will be running races without fans.
Giddy up, let's get racing.
The UFC will be coming back within the next week without fans as well.
Yeah, I feel like the UFC never went away. They just keep doing.
They just prolonged their events.
Keep doing their events.
Yeah. I figured you'd be excited about NASCAR, but to me, the golf is the most interesting.
Listen, I don't think that there's anything more there's nothing better than catching. You're doing work in your garage, your TV's on, you got a NASCAR race on in the background. That's pretty sweet. Or you're looking to catch a good Saturday. You're looking to catch a good Sunday afternoon nap.
Said no one ever.
Throw in the NASCAR race, watch a couple cars go in a circle. Or by the way, if you want to take a man trip down to Bristol and you want to
that I'm in for,
and you want to go watch some racing live, I highly suggest it. I think NASCAR's a blast. But I am probably the most excited about the golf for sure.
So someone wrote in Stephen Finkel.
Like it.
Wrote in Peyton and Tiger all the way. If you had to choose one of the 2, who would you take?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah, Peyton and Tiger.
Really?
I like them better. So
I don't know if I know anything about Tom Brady or Peyton Manning as a golfer.
here's what I know is that they're
Peyton Manning's
probably
hilarious. That's what I know.
I mean, I love the Mannings.
They're the best.
The Mannings are my favorite football family, I think.
They might be your favorite sports family.
No.
Who would take that cake? Like if you had to choose, well, you know what the Mannings are though?
I like the Stalls. That's Mark, Jordan, Eric. They don't play in the NHL.
Insert hockey fan here. I would say that if you had to make a Mount Rushmore of
families.
the Mannings are one of those four on it.
The Mannings. Actually, a family that could be on there, don't be mad at me, would be the Bowmans of the hockey family, because Scotty Bowman and his son Stan Bowman have like over 12 Stanley Cups between the Detroit Red Wings and the Chicago Blackhawks. So the Bowmans would also be out there. No one would know who they are.
That's so funny. I mean, we're talking about professional. You're making good arguments here. Just that everyone listening.
I mean, people would want. I think Ken Griffey Jr. and his father could be considered.
We're gonna have to think about
As
criteria.
a family,
Right.
families in sports.
Well, his dad, Ken Griffey Jr. Senior's dad was also in the MLB.
Yeah. I mean, the Currys are
another one.
Are two
Dell
good
Curry,
ones. Yeah.
Seth Curry.
You know, those are good ones there. I mean, even if you wanted to go the Kelsey brothers right now, who are currently in the NFL together, and back-to-back Super Bowls for the Kelsey brothers, which is pretty cool.
So the 40s are twins with the Super Bowls.
I mean, it just sucks that Tiki had to let Rondé down, because Rondé's
he's a Hall of Famer. Tiki really killed him.
Yeah, I know. I love Tiki.
Well,
too.
that's a good another debate for another time as well.
Yeah.
So sports are coming back, people. It's exciting. It's not the four major sports, truthfully, and we just had a write-in from Mom here. The Little League World Series canceled. You're not going to get a lot of
sympathy from
me.
Andrew.
You're not
hates
gonna-
kids. No, I'm just kidding.
No. How can I phrase this? I have a disdain towards the Little League World Series because I'm mad that I never made it there. And for some reason, when I was younger,
You thought
it
it was
really
possible.
mattered. In theory, it was
In
possible.
theory, it's possible.
It just wasn't possible.
Exactly.
So, tough for the kids. Sorry. But now you're like everyone else. You didn't get a chance to play in the Little League World Series. The MLB, the Big League World Series, I don't know if it's happening.
If you go to the four major sports leagues, the NFL, the NBA, NHL all have current events trending. Like,
you see the Dolphins in the NFL?
Right, yeah. Like, dude, if you go to the NFL webpage, like, it's the Dolphins are putting together stuff to get fans in the stadium, right? Or they're talking about, like, who's signing, whose options not getting picked up, whatever. NHL is talking about criteria for stadiums to host games. NBA is talking about their draft lottery getting pushed back. Like, there's current stuff. If you go to the MLB website, there is nothing but just like, we need to try and keep fans engaged, because it's like, I think we have no idea what to do.
I think of any sport, baseball is going to be the one that gets killed the most in this.
It's very well possible.
The way I look at it,
there's 82 home games per franchise that is losing revenue.
yes, and that's not including the 10 teams that make the playoffs.
No, which is
That's a lot of money.
Not to mention jersey sales, merchandise, vendor, like food,
Everything. And for the NFL, and the Miami Dolphins proposed a plan, the quick bits of it are, it would essentially take the stadium from 65,000 capacity to 15,000 capacity. You would have to order all of your food from your seat, and then you would have it go pick it up at your scheduled time. There would be allotments of time with which you would come to get into the stadium based on your ticket. And then when you leave the stadium, and it's described like this, it would be like you're leaving church, where you're filing out row by row so there's not a mass exodus and touching people. So the Dolphins, who are also, not just for the Dolphins' sake, but also they're set to host the Super Bowl this year. So I think that's the other reason why for a team like Miami and a stadium like Hard Rock Stadium, it was paramount that they start putting procedures together like this. So they're the first NFL team. They were also the first NFL team to get a global Biorisk Advisory Council's STAR accreditation, the standard used for facilities to implement cleaning, disinfecting, and infectious disease prevention work practices to control risks involved with infectious agents like the coronavirus. So, of every public venue in the world, in the United States, the Miami Dolphins Hard Rock Stadium is the only one that has that accreditation, which means legally, if it was opened by the powers that be in the state of Florida and this country, the Dolphins could start looking to host events at their stadium.
If you're really thinking about it, Pro Player Stadium has been on the forefront. It's been on the forefront of all major sporting events, for thousands of years.
So a lot to come in professional sports. That's exciting for you people. Okay, about 4 minutes left in this show, and what that means is it's time for Rock's Reviews.
I'm Rock. Here's my reviews.
Take the floor.
So I find it interesting that even though the content is flooded to our televisions right now from a non-sports standpoint, documentaries, you've got conspiracy theories, you've got
Tiger King.
So exactly, you've got the Tiger King, you've got Ozark, right? You've got the hot show, the Netflix one where it's like real world, but like it's all really good looking people and like they're not allowed to have sex. Like you have that one, right? You have all this stuff. And I find myself going back to the early 2000s, watching classic HBO tracks, such as Entourage. Right, I'm in the midst of Entourage season 2.
Okay.
Vincent Chase is becoming Aquaman. He's in a serious, heartfelt battle because he's falling back in love with Mandy Moore, who has crushed his heart before, right? And the drama there is just so, and the Johnny drama, right? The Johnny drama's in there. They're living in Malibu in Jessica Alba's house for the summer. So Johnny drama's late to all of his auditions, right? Just the cinematic brilliance there is incredible. You have one Ari Gold who has,
Jeremy Piven.
Jeremy Piven is just reaching the peak of Ari Goldness, right? He's about to get into his big battle with Terrence Winter, right? And Sloane has just entered the mold. So you're really starting to get into the meat of what Entourage is about to become over the next 6 seasons.
Wait. Roma-lytic Entourage style for you on your point. Did you know that Jeremy Piven won a Golden Globe for the show Entourage, as well as 2 Primetime Emmy Awards?
And I'm not surprised. There's not one person in the world who doesn't know who Ari Gold is. Go to YouTube, watch a 15-minute compilation of all of his one-liners, and you will die.
The best with Lloyd.
So amazing. So amazing. I just found myself, needing something like comedy-wise.
So why should those people, the Romo Sapiens, watching the Rome show on May 4th, 2020, flip on HBO when they're done flipping off the Rome show?
Because there's nothing that
don't flip the Rome show.
There's nothing that parallels sports better than entertainment, and it's a show about entertainment, and it's a fictional show about real life actors that they kind of give you a look into that world, and it's funny, it's fun, there's no death, it's just a feel good comedy that gets you to look into the life of Hollywood, which is just a blast, I think.
And envy the lives of Vinny Chase and E and Turtle.
Yeah, it's just a good time, For those of you who like Ballers, then you're gonna like Entourage. Ballers is the sports spin-off of Entourage.
Is that the conclusion of Rock's Review?
That'll be the conclusion. I will say, I told you I was watching 2 shoes from the early 2000s. I have taken a dive back into Band of Brothers.
Okay.
Purely so I can watch Captain Winters execute flawlessly on the battlefield, more than the actual history, but more actual tactical execution of troops on the battlefield, which for whatever reason my leadership brain wants to see. But again, I'd watch that one by yourself because it is, it's World War II, so it's pretty crazy. Yeah. But anyways, those are the 2 things I'm watching. I'm reviewing HBO from the early 2000s when Sunday night it was on, and if you weren't in front of your HBO TV, you probably weren't doing anything cool.
Oh, man. The days when, you had to turn on your TV at a specific time for the show.
Life was good.
It's crazy.
Should I give you a preview of what's to come? Because I believe that Showtime is debuting season 5 of Billions tonight.
Tune in next week, May 11th, 2020, The Rome Show, because this guy, Andrew Romanella, will not be present most likely on the May 11th Rome show. I'll be hosting the virtual athletics awards banquet for Fairleigh Dickinson University Forum. So I will be attempting to do something I've never done before. I will attempt to be Ruben on a nightly basis, which I will probably fail at. But thank you for tuning into the Rome show tonight. Thank you to John Macri for calling in. Thank you to everybody on the Facebook for tuning in. We will be back again May 11th next week. I am Andrew Romanella. That is Rocky Romanella. We are the Rome Show. Thank you to our producer, Ruben, Hamilton Radio. You, the Romo Sapiens. We are out.
To become a better leader, whether that's in business, in sports, or in life, and you haven't found a book yet to help you get to that game-changing aha moment, well, we have the book for you. Tighten the Lug Nuts. The Principles of Balanced Leadership. Tighten the Lug Nuts will help you get to that game-changing leadership moment. Available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and iBooks, or at 360managementservices.com. That's the number 360managementservices.com. Pick up your copy today and start changing your leadership styles.
Look like work to you? Nah, looking at the lights like it's all that